edit. Get it started. The real version of that song is "Let's Get Started." That's not politically correct, nor like I don't feel comfortable listening to that version of the song. But that's neither here nor there. Hello, folks. We're joined by a different third member of the dynamic trio we have here. Or should I say the trionic trio? But as usual, we'll let the lady introduce herself first, then the gentleman, and then I'll introduce myself. Then we'll go over the topics and we'll dive right in. Go ahead, lady. Go first.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is the BS Busters. I'm Jory Moonstar, and oh boy, we got a lot to work with today.
This is Kanoshi Abominito here to say that cotton candy is gross.
Yes, it is. Although, if you eat like a little bit, it's not that bad. But the amount they give you when you go to like a fair or a circus, it's like this is
It's
grotesque.
loaded.
Yeah, this is grotesque.
It's for me. It's the texture. It's the taste. I can't. I don't get it.
So you're totally put off by it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like.
I mean, everyone has something like that. Like me, I don't like coconut. Like everyone in my family likes coconut except for me. And I used to live in southern Florida, so you could get coconuts.
That's funny. The only one that likes coconut that doesn't like coconut is my mom.
Yeah, I hate it.
You're not a fan of coconut water, then.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I can drink coconut water. I can drink coconut milk because I like pina coladas and dancing in the rain. No, I use coconut milk when I make my banana smoothies. You take a ripe banana, some coconut. You take coconut milk or coconut cream. You freeze it into ice cubes and add the bananas and maybe some normal coconut milk. And you shred that shit in a blender. It's delicious. But I hate shredded coconut. Ugh. Because you chew and you chew and you chew and you chew and the shit never goes away.
It's like free potato chips.
I mean, damn it, I insist that when I chew something, it eventually gets macerated and digested. Whereas coconut, you just chew that shit, it never goes away. It's not like gum. Anyway, that's just a weird pet peeve of mine. And of course, it is I, Mr. Red Fox, the owner, proprietor, chief architect, I guess would also be a term, of the BS Busters podcast. So with that being said, let's talk about what our topics are going to be for this podcast. So we're going to have Kanoshi, before we get into the main topics, give his thoughts on Endgame. How does he feel about it? Was it worth the massive amount of buildup for the inevitable, the massive amount of climax, the massive amount of foreplay, miniature climaxes for this massive in-game climax, and then everyone roll over and smoke a cigarette?
I'm gonna say, tell you the truth, I think Infinity War was slightly better, but I think Endgame was pretty good. I liked how the movie, I liked how they wrapped it up. I like the scene at the end of the movie. Is this spoiler free or what?
We're beyond spoilers.
All right, spoilers. Cover your ears, kids, if you don't want to be spoiled. So, really like the scene where Thanos is, in this delusion. He still thinks he has the gauntlet, and he says, "I am inevitable," and then it pans over to Iron Man. Yeah, he's holding the gauntlet, and it's tearing his insides apart, and he says, "I am," and there's a short pause.
Iron Man,
and he snaps his fingers.
Yeah,
that was a pretty emotional scene. I thought that was pretty good.
I thought it was Tony Stark, even at the end, still being fucking Tony Stark, because that's what he does.
Tony Stark, what?
He's like, I am. Because it's a throwback to at the end of the first Iron Man, where they have that scene where he goes on this press conference, this junket, and he's like, well, I'm not a superhero, and this is ridiculous. People going around trying to save the world. It's like, what I'm trying to say is, I am Iron Man.
Yeah, there's a couple throwbacks to the first Iron Man movie near the end of the movie.
The whole movie is just throwbacks to other Marvel films. Yeah. Like watching Endgame, like whether you like Endgame or not, it's a monument to someone using the same model that worked for the comic book industry for 60, 70 years in cinematic form, and it working. And it also shows just how badly all these other cinematic universes that tried to get their shit off the ground fucked up.
my biggest gripe, and you know, it's a cardinal sin. I probably should have just let it go, but for some reason, something in my conscience didn't want me to let it go. And I thought about the plot a little bit too hard, and
trust me, some people figure it way too hard.
I was like, why the hell? Like, okay, so they got the Soul Stone, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, they're not trapped in the Soul Stone yet. So how are they able to bring back people that are trapped within the Soul Stone that aren't trapped in the Soul Stone yet? I mean,
there was only one person of the original team who was trapped in the Soul Stone, and that was initially that was Gamora.
Yeah.
Thing is that they created an alternate reality. When they basically did all that, they basically created an alternate reality. So that's why when Star-Lord sees Gamora, that's the alternate reality Gamora. Just like if they do a Black Widow movie and they don't do like a prequel for Black Widow for Scarlett Johansson, that's going to be an alternate reality Black Widow. That's not going to be the Black Widow who sacrificed herself, which is going to be interesting because, like, if they have any of the old people return who've had this relationship with their version of Black Widow, like, it'd be interesting if Mark Ruffalo was like, "Hey," and she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "But we almost banged. I mean, come on, we had a connection."
I just feel that they could, at least for me, I just thought that they could have had a bit more, you know, a bit more consistency in how they use the rules of time travel when it comes to storytelling, like, you know, creating rules and sticking to those rules and being consistent with those rules. And I just felt
but like, Tony fucked up the plan. As per usual, it's either Tony or Star-Lord. One of those two are going to fuck up the plan. And so in this case, it was because Star-Lord was dead. He got snapped away. It was Tony. Someone had to fuck up the plan, so Tony fucked up the plan. Then they had to regroup and go further back into time in order to get more Pym particles and a time when both of those gems would be in one place, so they could snatch both of them.
And I also felt that they could have done more with the whole bad Nebula versus good Nebula. I thought they could have gone a bit deeper with that, but.
Well, it made no sense that they would have a quantum entanglement so that if who the fuck makes that type of redundancy? You know, in case there's ever a time thing and one version of Nova is in another, we'll make it so that they can share data. It's like that's a stupid redundancy.
That doesn't make any sense.
Who the fuck makes that I mean, you know. Who the fuck makes that type of redundancy? I think it was just for the plot because they needed to find out that they were going to do something. They were trying to undo something another version of Thanos did in another timeline.
It was another trip wire for the heroes to trip on. They needed Thanos to. You know, because they killed Thanos at the beginning of the movie, and then they needed him to be a part of the plot.
But to be fair, like, these are nitpicks. These are basically someone wrote a 20-page paper, and there's a typo. There's a miss, not a typo, but they use the wrong apostrophe. Or the long they used the wrong marking to show they used an apostrophe incorrectly here or there. Okay, these are small mistakes. Overall, the film's still pretty good. But I mean, just from a technical standpoint, seeing what Kevin Feige was ever able to do building this cinematic universe up to this point, and then seeing how fucking badly other cinematic universes have been handled. DC cinematic.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I thought it was, this experiment that Marvel did with their cinematic universe is a pretty, it's been a pretty fascinating experiment, and I hope to see other people try, I see to see other people even, succeed or do better than Marvel.
Yeah, but the thing is, the key word is that they took their time to build the story, to build the universe, to build the characters. They didn't say, okay, guys, we're only 2 movies in and we're going to do our team up and people are going to give a shit why. Like the DC cinematic universe. And Zack Snyder, who keeps on popping up and saying, well, actually, no one gives a fuck what you have to say about anything about those terrible movies you made. No one cares. Shut the fuck up, sit in the corner, and be quiet. you author of shitty Superman. And speaking of, this is a nice segue. Speaking of a cinematic universe that has kind of fallen into a portalet, and when I say fall into a portalet, I don't mean they just kind of fell inside seat. I mean they're in the shit.
They felt the stuff.
Yeah. So there's rumors going around that Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy that he was gifted for whatever fucking reason by Kathleen Kennedy is kaput. It's no more. It's no more.
Was he the one that directed
After what
The
they've
Force
done?
Awakens or whatever the second?
The Last Jedi, yes. He is the Last Jedi guy, yes. Yeah.
Because he fucked it up so bad.
Yeah, but well, I mean, basically, Kathleen Kennedy giving him a trilogy without verifying that The Last Jedi was going to be a good movie is the equivalent of you hiring someone to head multiple big projects for your business, but then the first project that you give them as a test to see if they can handle it, they fuck up monumentally, but you give them 3 anyway. It's basically you're rewarding failure. It's like you're rewarding someone who fucked up. And I mean, Disney doesn't do that. They don't reward failure. Like, I mean, I don't see Mickey. Oh, you've been fucking up. You've been fucking up, Rian Johnson. Oh, I'm gonna break my foot off in your ass. Actually, I've got little feet. Goofy, you goofy bastard. Come here with those size 14 feet. Shove them up this dude's ass, please. I got it, boy.
Yeah, if they have the House of Mouse crazed and angered, there's something about to go south.
Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff and the Star Wars trilogy, it's just such a contrast from each other.
Yeah, like I was in a podcast, the one for last week, the main podcast we have every Saturday, and I basically said I would hate to be. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, where Bob Iger comes in and sits down, and he's got like the DreamWorks guy, the Pixar guy, and Pixar people, the Marvel people, the Muppet people, like other people, and then Kathleen Kennedy comes in, the Star Wars people. He's like, so yeah, Muppets has been underperforming, but that's on us. Pixar's been knocking out the park. Marvel, man, you can do whatever you want. You want to fuck my wife? Go ahead.
He got something
about like, what have you done lately? And basically seeing how monumentally mishandled Star Wars has been over the last
few years
by Disney, period. It's been mishandled. I mean, they gave a game license to EA. Have we gotten one good Star Wars game out of EA since it was since they got the exclusivity license for Star Wars?
What was that?
Have we gotten one good game from EA, good Star Wars game from EA since they got the exclusivity license from Disney for Star Wars.
As far as I know, nothing that jumps out at me.
Yeah, that's what I was. I mean, it was a rhetorical question because we all know the answer. No, no, there is not. I mean, there are games that people have enjoyed, but I mean, genuinely across the board, people said this game was good. Like back in the day, we had Star Wars games on everything. We had Rogue Squadron on the N64. We had Star Wars games on the PS1. We had Star Wars games on PC. You had Star Wars handheld games. You had Star Wars games on SNES. Yeah, you had Star Wars games on the Sega Genesis as well. You had Star Wars games on the NES. You had Star Wars games on the Game Boy. You had Star Wars. I mean, it was ubiquitous. If you wanted to get your Star Wars fix gameplay-wise, you could find something to play Star Wars on. And now with EA, if you want to play Star Wars, you got two choices. You've got a shitty Star Wars Battlefront game that was rushed out the door to coincide with a mediocre movie, The Force Awakens. You've got Star Wars Battlefront 2, which, I mean,
Enough said.
the loot boxes. That should be called Star Wars Battlefront loot boxes. And that's it. If you want to play a current gen Star Wars game, that's it. Those are the only choices you have. Yeah, there's tons of old shit you can get. You can play Knights of the Old Republic 2, Knights of the Old Republic. You can play, the old shit, the old Star Wars Battlefront games on PC. The old Rogue Squadrons. But you're basically shit out of luck when it comes to playing new shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's depressing and embarrassing, especially if one is thinking about the entire Star Wars series.
Yeah.
And me and Pinks have been on an argument about this, off air, that is. But I had to tell him, if you screw up a storyline so badly that you need Thanos' glove to fix it, you are definitely effed up.
Well, it was fucked from the start. I mean, because here's the thing. I was one of those people who, when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, I told everyone. Everyone's like, yeah, we're going to get rid of George Lucas, and then they can fix it. I'm like, yeah, but here's what you need to realize. George Lucas wasn't the only one who wasn't the sole architect of Star Wars, but his hand was guiding the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, like a lot of the expanded universe stuff. So there was like
there was
a connection to everything.
Yeah, here's the thing though. I was actually wondering how Star Wars would be without George Lucas, because if this is something that they could, I actually thought that Disney could actually try something different and maybe give the people that seen Star Wars before something new to enjoy about it, a new story. Oh boy, some of it, the Force Awakens, it wasn't too bad, but it had its fair share of problems that could have been worked out right if the sequel was better. Oh God! I
got to disagree. The Force Awakens was really good. My impression of it was really good at first because it had been so long since we'd had a Star Wars movie. And then I went back and I watched it and I realized it was just A New Hope, but done not quite as well. Because actually, no, I take that back. The Force Awakens was A New Hope, was a lot of A New Hope's
story arcs,
tropes, but the characters aren't as well fleshed out, which is weird because George Lucas, like, he doesn't do characters well, but I mean, every character in A New Hope, even though they're shallow archetypes, you know what their motivations are and who they are. Okay, you know that Luke Skywalker, he's the farm boy who there's a deeper past going on, but it's hinted at but never told about. Who wants to get off of the farm? Okay, he wants to explore the galaxy and be a better person. Obi-Wan is an old is an old hero who has retired. He's done well. You don't know, like, at this point, you know what, like, you don't know what a Jedi is. You just know that he's an old hero. He maybe did some shit back in the day, but he's too old for this shit now. And he's gonna do the best he can, but he's too goddamn old for any of this shit, really. Okay. You know that you know that Han Solo's a scoundrel and a rogue. He just straight up murdered somebody. And I'm going with the original cut, not that bullshit George Lucas did after the fact. Well, actually, Greedo shot first and Han responded. No, fuck that. He straight up murdered that poor Rhodian bastard. Chewbacca's his badass right-hand man, right? They're archetypes, but you kind of get into the archetypes. None of those characters, you have basically the same tropes being retold in The Force Awakens, but it's not done well. You know what I mean?
I get you. I was just saying that there was some hope that the new Star Wars would tell a new tale, and then the second one, if there was any big flaws, that it would be that some of those will be rectified or at least softened. And it was during the second movie that I realized how much of an F up this is.
Yeah. It was like The Force Awakens was like, I was kind of like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this. But then The Last Jedi came and I was like, I know I don't like this. And I mean, I've talked to people who genuinely like that movie. But even the people that I've talked to who genuinely like that movie and aren't parroting things that they heard on chat rooms and shit like that, they say that Rian Johnson was not the right person to direct a big budget Star Wars film, because all of Rian Johnson's films are very niche and you either love it or you hate it. Star Wars needs to be something that even if you don't like it, you can see why certain people would like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily love the prequels, but I know that there are kids who that was their introduction to Star Wars and they love the shit. So, I'm not going to hate on them for loving it, even though I personally hate Jar Jar Binks with a passion and wish I could actually kill him as if he was an actual person. Darth Vader could destroy a temple full of younglings, but he couldn't take out Jar Jar Binks. Really? That was where he drew the line? He choked out his wife. He's a spousal abuser. But apparently he couldn't kill Jar Jar Binks, the one person who I wanted to see die horrifically in the prequel trilogy doesn't die horrifically? What the fuck, man? Sorry. Went on that hate Jar Jar Binks rant.
That's the one thing I always have a wonder about. Is Jar Jar Binks really that bad? Because I just find him annoying, but like a side rather than the main.
Well, no, the reason I don't like Jar Jar Binks is because in the first movie, the first movie he was going to be the character that tied everything together. Like, you know how R2-D2 and C-3PO tied the
original trilogy.
He was going to be the R2-D2 / C-3PO that ties everything together for the prequel trilogy, and it just didn't work. It did not. It failed miserably. And the poor man who, I remember watching a making of the prequel trilogy of The Phantom Menace, where the guy who plays Jar Jar Binks, he thought he was gonna start his career. He was like, "Yeah, this is gonna make me huge." I was like, "Oh no, brother." He's a black dude. I'm like, "No, brother, don't do this to yourself, brother. Don't do it." And man, it was bad. It was bad. Like, he got death threats. It was not good. It was not good. Now, while I hate Jar Jar Binks, I'm not gonna threaten the guy who played Jar Jar Binks, because that is inappropriate. Very, very, very inappropriate. But
I feel sorry for the guy that tried, but oh god, he had some unfortunate luck.
Yeah, but anyway, let's get back to gaming. We've gone on Star Wars long enough. I just wanted to give you that information that, I would not, this is not confirmed because Disney doesn't want to just come out there and say fuck this guy for helping to fuck up our franchise. But I would not be surprised if you hear within the next year or so, probably less than that. Yeah, this man does not have a job at Disney. And he shouldn't, because, why would you reward failure? That doesn't make sense. So I guess we need to get to the PlayStation experience, the latest PlayStation experience.
I didn't even watch it. didn't know what was happening until I saw a
I'm the
video
only
on
one
it.
that watched it then? Oh,
Be
God.
honest with you, I didn't watch the shit either. I like read like a recap of the minutes of what happened because I have better shit to do with my time than watch a PlayStation experience where they hype up shit that's going to be a lot of multiplats. Like they hyped up some game that looks like 3D Dot Heroes, like 2, but it isn't, and it's going to be a multiplat because it has indie game characters from other games that are on other platforms. So it's going to be a fucking multiplayer. So why should I be hyped up about some shit that I can play on other consoles?
The only reason that you might do that, and that's a big might, because they always try to do this, play it first on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see the point of even doing that now because the PlayStation 4 is on its way out the door, and they're hyping up the PS5. And while the PS4 has a massive install base, which is true,
Forged one, but I agree.
it's not big enough for them to be like, well, this is the best shit ever.
All I saw was the new Final Fantasy VII footage. They were actually smart this time. At the beginning of the footage, they were like, develop the footage subject to change rather than leading people on.
So basically, they just threw together some shit to let people know that it's being worked on, and it probably won't be the. Because here's the thing: no matter what these people do, no matter what they want to show people, at the end of the day, you're probably going to get a game that is not anywhere representative of what Final Fantasy was for a lot of these people.
Especially for old guards like us.
Yeah. I mean...
And oh god, I already have Duke Nukem Forever syndromes rising up from this.
I mean, did anyone learn their lesson from Kingdom Hearts 3?
Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm surprised that people are defending it, and also having to wonder how much of a spectacle these people have if they believe that Final Fantasy VII is going to end up like Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, I mean, for me, Kingdom Hearts 3 was kind of a failure, so your thoughts, Kanushi?
What was the comment?
What do you think
we were talking about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, so I don't know.
Or should I not say Kingdom Hearts 3? Should I say
most people
Final Fantasy 7?
Oh, Final Fantasy 7?
Final Fantasy 7 remake that people just keep on seeming to think that it's going to be like really good, and I'm not.
Of course.
I'm not seeing it. Like, I don't think it's going to be good.
I'm telling you to temper your expectations. It's not going to be anything that you expected. So,
yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. Final Fantasy VII is a product of its time, and I don't think re-releasing like a redo of that game, a remake, is really gonna. I don't think it's gonna hit what Square Enix or Sony thinks it's gonna do. Just like how when Sony released the PlayStation Mini, the PlayStation Classic, and it turned out to be some bullshit. Everyone's like, "Well, how come it's not good?" I'm like, "Because the PlayStation is not a fucking nostalgic console." Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if Final Fantasy VII jumps ships and becomes multi-plat because the time and money that they're gonna put into it. Sony ain't gonna put up bricks of cash like they did in the past for this game.
It doesn't make sense for them to do that. Like people can't understand that it doesn't make sense for Sony. It doesn't make sense for anyone to put that type of money for a game that will probably not going to sell that well. I know some people get angry when you hear that. Oh, dare you, sir? I love Final Fantasy, whatever the fuck name it is.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think of it because we haven't. I mean, I just saw the trailer and apparently they're going to talk more about it in June. But
At E3, yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Like,
Yeah.
here's the thing. They're trying to pretend like, okay, it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? It's not going to be a PlayStation exclusive. It's probably going to hit PlayStation first, and then it's also going to be on PC. And it's probably going to sell more on PC because, I mean,
like, how many people really care about Final Fantasy VII still? Like,
you do have a audience of people who still really fucking love Final Fantasy. Seven.
is it as big as it was back in 1997 or 1996 when this game came out or whenever?
No, that's the thing. It's not as like it's
That's the question.
because Final Fantasy VII is a product of its time. It's like Mario 64. If Nintendo said we are making a remake of Mario 64, and it's gonna be well, actually, that probably would sell more than Final Fantasy VII remake.
Like all of those people that stood up during the 2015 E3 press event when Sony announced this freaking game. Those were people that were in their mid 20s and probably early to possibly even mid 30s when they played that game for the first time. And have they ever gone back and actually really played that game? Because it doesn't hold up at all.
Yeah, because it's a product of its time, and there was a lot of marketing going on behind it. Like Sony put, like I think it was one of the highest budgeted, marketing budgeted games of its time. Like it was really expensive. Like I don't see other games having that level of, I don't see this game having that level of stuff, and I also don't see it being like it's selling all that well. Despite what Sony and Square Enix want you to believe, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be the best shit ever. Yeah, I don't believe it.
I just don't think lightning is going to strike me. Lightning's going to strike twice from them.
Consider who's in charge now. Oh, beep! No, it's not going to happen.
It's not gonna flop. It's not gonna be like an embarrassment or anything. No one's gonna be fired, but it's not gonna be like the best. It's not going to be what people thinks is going to be. Because here's the thing, okay? If they change the gameplay too much, it's going to piss off the old heads. If they change the game, if they keep the gameplay the same, it's going to turn off new people. So like either way, they're fucked unless they.
They already changed the gameplay dramatically by using a Kingdom Hearts-esque battle system.
Yeah. Unless they make the battle system so that, like, okay, for new people, we have action. For old school people, we're going old school. If they do that, Square Enix doesn't have that type of talent anymore.
Yeah, that requires a lot of work.
Yeah, and Hironobu Sakaguchi and the people who left and became Monolith Soft don't work at Square Enix anymore. So, the talent is gone. The talent isn't there anymore to do shit like that. So. And I know some people are going to be like, how could you say that? How can you say? Because, the really talented people aren't there anymore. Like, ask yourself, what was the last RPG that Square Enix made that reminded you of what they were like back in their golden age? Go ahead, I'll wait.
That's going to be a long wait.
Yeah.
They haven't made a damn one.
Okay, maybe I'll take that back. The people who made Bravely Default, Bravely Second, and Octopath Traveler.
Yeah,
But those games are rare as fuck at Square Enix these days. Like most of the games they make now are just trash.
Yeah.
Pretty trash, but trash nonetheless. And I don't care what anyone says. Oh, you shouldn't say that. Do you want them to fail? No, but I don't want them to fail, but I'm not gonna lie and pretend like they're doing fine. Shit. That's like someone. That's like someone saying. That's like someone walks up to you and they've got blood dribbling out of their ear, right? And you're like, "Hey, are you okay?" They're like, "No, I'm fine." You've got blood dribbling out of your ear. There's something wrong because that's not normal. Shit ain't normal. No one ever says anything about it. They're like, "Well, that's just the way it is,
Yeah. Thank you, gaming industry, for doing stupid. And speaking of which, can I at least go into a mini rant for a moment after hearing this?
Go ahead.
As much as I like people trying, as much as I like the ESRB and the ESA not being under government regulations, you guys have been doing so much BS that's been starting to get the attention of the lawyers. So, if anything, for the love of Arceus, clean up your beeping act! Yeah.
How can I put this nicely without being a dick? I disagree. I think that ESRB should be a government organization. I think there's some shit where there should be regulation. Like there should be a regulation saying that you can't sell, you can't use gambling mechanics to sell shit to kids.
So what do they
Yeah.
show at this PlayStation experience anyway?
What?
What do they show at the PlayStation experience?
They
I told
mostly
you.
show games.
I told you I didn't watch it. I had better shit to do with my time.
Let me just.
From what I understand, there's a lot of indie games that are going to be multi-plat. They show a few PlayStation VR games, which, I mean, if you care about virtual reality and you have a PSVR, then good. But the PSVR didn't sell that well, so they're preaching to less than like 10 million people who own PS4, which is like, according to Sony, there's like 84, 85 million PS4s. You're preaching to literally like
8.5 or 1% of the crowd, right?
10% of your audience. That's who you're saying, okay, you need to.
So they showed indie games that were multi-plat and well, sorry, my mic cut out.
Yeah, they showed indie games that are going to be multi-plat. I mean, they don't say it, but you can tell when an indie game is going to be multi-plat, right?
Yeah.
And then they showed some PSVR games, but like I said, that's literally less than 10% of the total PlayStation audience own PSVR. So
I tried PSVR, and the thing about VR is it's not good for long play sessions.
Yeah.
It's good for like 10, 20 minute go around party games, but not long. Not sitting down playing like a long RPG or some sort of. It was just, I don't know. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Disorienting, I would say.
Yeah, it was natural, and I mean, it's like I said, if they want VR to be a major thing in gaming, what they need to do is have VR where it's like I mean, I hate to say it, but it either needs to be a holodeck like Star Trek, or it needs to be VR where you literally put a helmet on, you sit back in your chair, you close your eyes, and it connects to your neurocortex, and you're in the game, like you're physically in the game mentally.
The thing is, it's just like really weird looking down at your hands and you're seeing like a controller or some sort of object floating. It's just so off. It feels like an uncanny valley sort of experience.
Yeah, it's disconcerting, and like no one wants to talk about how fucking disconcerting it is. Like no one wants to mention that. Like, I mean, look, I'm not against virtual reality. I mean, I wish that they would do something else with gaming instead of just always trying to put virtual reality in everything. Well, virtual reality.
We don't need VR if it's not perfected.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to be perfected. It just needs to be better than what it is now. It needs to be functional.
I mean, perfectly from what they already have out now.
Because there's very little technology that's really perfected. It's just better than it was years and years ago. Like I wish VR was better than what it is right now. It isn't, but it should be. Will it ever be better than it is right now? It could be, but it needs to be better, and it needs to be cheaper. So better and cheaper, I don't know.
I don't know. Needs to, yeah, it needs to be a little less bulky too. You know, if you can just put like a pair of like sunglasses on and you're in the game, that'd be a lot better.
Yeah, especially if it cancels out most of your senses and well, basically leaves you blind enough to be jacked while you're in the VR world.
So that's what I'm saying. You just be in your house and you just like put a helmet on or whatever, and it'd be full immersion, but you just put some shit on your face and that's it. That's the end of it. Which is a better move than like VR as it is right now. We have to do all this wires and shit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a VR ready PC rig, but I don't even have a VR helmet to go with it or anything to connect to it because I'm like why? What? I don't see the point of virtual reality.
Yeah, I have a VR PC ready computer as well. I think even on the new CPUs, they don't even have VR ready on them anymore. I know Valve just announced their new VR headset pre-order bundle stuff, and I see the cost of that. It's like, this is retardedly expensive.
Yeah, because they probably have a large inventory of it, and they want to get rid of the excess, which is a smart move. But I mean, I personally, what?
I was saying them. It might be smart to try to move the stuff fast as they can, but how they're doing it's probably not one of the best things ever.
Well, no, I mean, okay, people would buy VR if you could show them a game that would be that would make if they could come up with 5 games that made VR worthwhile, VR would sell. But I can't think of 5 games that that they could come out with. I mean, I could, but off my head. But someone would have to develop it, and people don't want to do that. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. If they made a mystery game where you're like a first-person mystery game where you're investigating shit, kind of like Phoenix Wright, but
What was that?
I was saying if they could make a mystery game where you're investigating shit, but like Phoenix Wright, but it's in first person, I think that could work with a VR game. I think that could also work with a like if you did a kind of like a wacky type party type game with an online component, like maybe beer pong or some shit. And maybe as you lost, you'd have to drink virtual beer that would make your vision swim and your reflexes go down. So it actually had that component. But like you would drink, like the game is a game, so you could have stuff like where you're playing like medieval beer pong, where you're not drinking beer, you're drinking potions. So like weird shit could happen, like your hand turns into a bird's mouth or some shit, or like your other hand turns into a tentacle. You know, stuff like that. Like if you loot, I mean, you could do some cool shit like that, or do like a first person, do like a light gun type House of the Dead type game, except it's in first person. You know, I mean that could work in VR. I mean, there's some cool, but I mean, people would have to go out of your way to make games that appeal to VR. And the thing is, no developer wants to make a game that's just solely appealing to VR when, you know, only a few people are going to play that shit. Because these people are trying to get paid, man, you know.
Yeah, and aiming to a aiming to a very small niche is just asking for trouble.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying they're asking for trouble. I mean, you can make money off of a niche if you know what you're doing and you have that niche's you keep your budget under control. But I mean, in order to make VR look good, you're either going to have to go with an art style that is going to be kind of cheap to do assets in, or you're going to have to put some money into it to make it look good. And no one wants to do that. I mean, because they're lazy bastards. No, I'm joking. I don't know if they're lazy bastards.
Yeah.
Your
I'm
mileage may
being
vary.
facetious.
I
Yeah,
saw their pre-order prices, and it was like $1,000 for everything that you needed in order to get the thing to work. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If the $1,000 comes with a sex droid that also will clean my house and cook my food, I'll be down with it. But if it's just $1,000 just to play a game in first person, like it's on my face, then
Mhm.
that doesn't seem cool to me.
No.
No, sir. Doesn't seem cool to me at all. Need to go get my friend Cooter. Cooter. That's such an interesting name.
Yep. People who have $1,000 to throw away, like, man, the
If you have
idea of being able to spend $1,000 and not miss it.
well, I
Sounds like
mean,
a
look,
great life.
listen. Look, I have that money to spend, but I wouldn't spend it on a VR rig. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe a better sound system, maybe a big screen.
Yeah, a nice 4K television. For like a home theater or something.
Definitely wouldn't spend it on a damn definitely wouldn't spend it on a damn 4K rig. Hell, $1,000. I mean, I'd rather just get a gaming PC, just a straight up better gaming PC, or
Yeah.
a better CPU in my gaming PC. Like, what? Why would anyone spend that type of money on some shit? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense to me either.
It makes no sense.
Can you imagine being one of these suckers who wants to build a virtual reality ring and get the helmet? How much money they would have to spend? Like
To get the
almost
shit to run well, it would be more than 1,000 actually. It'd probably be like you'd probably spend
3,000.
at least 2K, probably 2.5K. It wouldn't be a cheap. It would not be a cheap endeavor.
It'd be a cool thing to have to be able to watch movies on or something.
No, I've seen VR movies. You get a headache after a while. Okay, Weister20 says Jar Jar was more important than Rose. Cloud and Sephiroth had new voices. I don't give a shit. I don't like Sephiroth or Cloud. I think they're shit characters.
Cloud, I could agree with you on. Sephiroth, iffy.
I'll tell you why Sephiroth for me is a shitty villain. Okay, a good villain has to have a motivation that you understand, and either you hate it or you can empathize with it, but it's still kind of fucked up. Here is Sephiroth's big motivation to destroy Midgar and call down a meteor to destroy the world. Because he's the clone baby of an alien, he wasn't allowed to know his alien clone baby mother, who was dead. Like, it's not like it was alive; it was dead, and they made a clone from the dead cell. So
Which
basically,
is creepy as F.
he's mad because he didn't get to know his fake mother.
Weird.
And so the whole world has to die. I mean, that's just a fucking lame ass villain motivation to me.
If you ask me, if you put it that when you put it that way, I just realized Cloud is a better character than Sephiroth,
No, and
which is weird.
Cloud is even worse because his whole motivation to take on Sephiroth, okay, his whole motivation, when you get right down to it, like his primary motivation before you meet Eris and all his goes on his adventure is because he himself is a clone of Sephiroth, an imperfect clone that was thrown away, an imperfect clone that wound up taking on the memories and motivations of Zack Fair, who was killed, who hated Sephiroth. So basically, he has no motivations of his own. He has motivations given to him by a dead man. Okay, but he also has secondary motivations because he kind of sort of had a thing with or almost had a thing with Eris, but it wasn't quite going to work out because Sephiroth murdered her, and he's mad about that. That's about it. Like, that's his motivation. What a fucking lame ass hero for a story. Like, that's your motivation. Now, here's what we had before we had Final Fantasy VII's shit-tastic main characters and villain. Okay, now the first Final Fantasy, I'm going to throw that away because it's the first game. The story is kind of lackluster and very cliche. Final Fantasy II is this epic battle between this empire that's taking over different countries and murdering people. It's really fucking dark, really good. Final Fantasy III is yet again a cliche of 4 heroes trying to save the world, but there's a twist in that one of your characters is the hero of the dark world and not the hero of light. So that's your little twist of Final Fantasy III. You actually are a hero of another alternate universe. Ooh. Then you get Final Fantasy IV.
That hasn't been done with that.
Yeah, then you get Final Fantasy IV when shit started to get good. Final Fantasy IV is where you got this proper story. Okay, you have a guy who's a dark knight named Cecil, which is kind of a lame ass name, but fuck it. Named Cecil, his Ace Coon Boon Kane, who's a Dragoon, and they go on this journey to basically, and they're gathering the elemental crystals of other nations. That's their big thing. Now, why are they gathering the elemental crystals of all these nations and straight up murdering people? You figure out as the story goes on, you find out that there's this dark force taking over the world, and there's all this other shit going on. It's actually kind of a deep and involved story. There's actually character growth. Now, the villain's a little lame because who you think is the primary villain is not actually the primary villain, but I mean, this becomes a trope of Final Fantasy for a long time. Like, who you think is actually the villain is not actually the villain. They love doing that. I don't know why, but they do. But then we get then we go to Final Fantasy V, which goes back to kind of the tropes that we had in Final Fantasy III for the NES. But you had more interesting characters. You had a pirate captain who dressed like a man and hid her gender because of reasons. You had a princess who actually was kind of badass. You had an old man who was a hero from another alternate world. And you had a guy who was in this world, who was in the world you started out in, who actually was the son of one of the heroes from the alternate world. And the villain's kind of lame. It's an evil tree.
Yeah, I thought Sephiroth was a bad villain. Oh God, that's evil tree.
Yeah, but it was an evil tree. But to be fair, I mean, it was a pretty badass evil tree. Then we get Final Fantasy VI. All right,
and we got ourselves two villains of sorts, as far as I could guess.
Well, we got more than that. We've got one primary villain, but he pretends to be a secondary villain for like half of the game. Okay. The primary villain of of Final Fantasy VI is Kefka, okay? Or Kafka, depending on the translation you have of the game, okay? Now, Kefka's big plan is that the story of Kefka is very simple, okay? Kefka is one of the first Maginites. Maginites are human beings who have been forcibly implanted with the magical power of espers. Espers are magical beings that are the embodiment of various magical elements or forces, okay? So he is the embodiment, so like there's Madeline, the Esper of chaos. He's the father of Terra, the half human, half Esper child of Madeline, and some lady who managed to be left behind after the Empire tried to invade the world of the Espers the first time. There's Shiva, there's Ifrit. The Espers are basically the derivation of the summons that you have in Final Fantasy for all these years. Okay, but anyway, yeah. Kefka is one of the first experiments. There's Chales or Celeste, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Like the Maginites all have insane magical abilities, but here's the problem: the early experiments went fucking crazy, and most of them died. The only one who managed to survive is fucking Kefka. He's crazy, but he's crazy like a fox. Okay, so basically. Kefka enacts this massive plan to basically help the Empire open a rift into the upper planes of existence where the gods of magic and balance live, so that they can take over the world. The Emperor's like, yeah, I'm going to take over the world. It's going to be great. Then Kefka murders the Emperor and says, my plan is complete, and I'm going to become the god of everything. And he basically says, I will rule this world in peace and harmony, but what I'm going to need you guys to do is worship me and consider me God. And, all the little nations are like, man, fuck you, Kefka. He says, okay then. You want to play it like that? And he destroyed the world. Okay.
I was about to say, I thought his sanity level was a lot lower than that, because he just kills for the fun of it whenever he likes, whenever he's a little pissed, or when he's bored out of his logical mind.
Yeah, well, he's crazy like the Joker. He's not like Kefka is crazy like the Joker, which the Joker is insane, but he's like he's crazy like a fox. So he's insane, but there's a method to his madness. Like everything Kefka does is to serve his greater plan, which he succeeds at. He totally fucking succeeds at his overall plan. And here's the thing, like basically he actually, for once, he's a villain who actually succeeds. He does take over the world. He becomes the god of magic. he wrecks. Like literally the latter half of Final Fantasy VI is called the World of Ruin because Kefka won. He won. And we went from a villain who was just, you loved to hate him, but even when he showed up, you're like, oh shit, it's Kefka, to a fucking lame ass mama's boy. Really? That's the greatest Final Fantasy villain of all time? Really?
Okay. Yeah, even IGN, A Broken Clock, got it right. It's right every once in a while. It's right twice a day. I think they put Final Fantasy VI as their number one best Final Fantasy game.
Well, I think every list that they have of like the best JRPGs, Final Fantasy VI is above Final Fantasy VII. Like I know there are people who love Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not going to take that away from you, but
well, I remember seeing that, and people were not happy.
Yeah,
they never played the. They never played the previous game.
Yeah, you asked them, it's like, well, what Final Fantasy did you play? What Final Fantasies have you played? They only played Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and 10 maybe. I'm like, well, you need to shut the fuck up because you have a low sample size to choose from. It's like someone saying, the best fantasy book in the world is The Hobbit. Well, have you read any others aside from The Hobbit? No, then shut the fuck up.
Oh, The Hobbit.
Because you have a very slim sample size.
Yeah, I can't get past like the Hobbit. I don't. It's like I've tried reading that book several times. I can't freaking do it. There's something about it.
You know, I got to disagree with you. I actually like The Hobbit more than the Lord of the Rings trilogy because The Hobbit is a contained story that actually has a cool villain, Smaug the dragon.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I've heard people talk about The Hobbit compared to the Lord of the Rings and how I feel it's slightly better. It's not as drawn out as the Lord of the Rings.
well, on a technical level, it's a better book, but but I'm just saying, even if you enjoy it and you can argue the merits of it, if that's the only fantasy book you've read, it is illogical for someone to say it's the best fantasy book ever if that's the only fucking one they read. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a better example would be I think the Harry Potter series is the best fantasy books ever written. That'd be even more ridiculous.
Because there's a lot of fantasy things. It's like you need to at least have read, several series, at least 6 series before you can say it's the best. But that's neither here nor there. We have one last topic to go over. The lackluster PlayStation experience. Basically, what I'm saying, Weister, is that Final Fantasy VII sucks, and it's not terrible. Did Cloud and Sephiroth have voices in the original Crisis, Final Fantasy VII, or Crisis Core? They didn't have voice acting in
7.
In 7. They had voice acting in Crisis Core.
Because the Disc wouldn't have been able to hold that much information.
I don't think RPGs are, you have to read a lot of shit, and if you don't want to play a game where you read a lot of shit, don't play RPGs.
If we went back, if for whatever reason we went back to text boxes, I would be okay with that actually.
Yeah, because I'm tired of the shitty voice acting personally. Just that's my own personal.
You get a lot more options. If it's just text, like naming characters and whatnot.
Yeah.
Voice acting, you're kind of stuck with the character name. So you can actually feel like you're, more a part of that world than with the,
I just want a game that just has characters leveling up, kicking ass, taking names. And maybe
and a game system that you could break almost as fun as
that I can bend almost till it breaks. Just almost. It's like how Final Fantasy Tactics, you can't really break it, but you can bend that shit till it's almost touching the other end.
Yeah. Tactics Advance was more the Final Fantasy Tactics game for me.
I like all 3 of those games. I like Final Fantasy Tactics. I like Tactics Advance. I like all of them, but all of them reward you for figuring out how to break the game, which I love. But yeah. So it's no longer Steve Burton and George Newbern. I wonder why. Because Square Enix doesn't want to pay them money. So will this remake Final Fantasy VII encompass the story of Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and maybe mangas and books? And someone says probably not. Dude, if they do, they're going to charge you DLC prices for it. Either that or split the game up. Like, how many times has Square Enix pimped out fucking Final Fantasy VII with all of these fucking side stories and this is to explain this is what happened to Zack Fair. I don't give a shit. I really don't. Remember when an RPG came out and
it was complete,
and that was the game? Like, if you wanted more shit, they just made a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need all this extra shit for a Final Fantasy game?
Somehow they did that with I think counting now 8 games for one iteration of Final Fantasy.
I can't do it.
And this is from the same people that made all the Bravest, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't do it. I'm done. I can't can't do it. I haven't enjoyed Final Fantasy for years. Here's my confession, my dirty confession. I think Final Fantasy went to shit when Hironobu Sakaguchi left, and it hasn't been good since. Sony also showed the new Monster Hunter World expansion. If only I gave a shit. If only I gave a shit, but I don't. I unfortunately give no shits about a Final Fantasy expansion. Sorry, a Monster Hunter World expansion. I don't even care about Monster Hunter World, really. I found it to be kind of meh, personally. I know. I went to a friend's house and played it for a little bit. I'm just not really enthused by it. Not that it's terrible. I just don't care that much about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad, but I'm not like, I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not a huge Monster Hunter fan in the first place. So I'm the wrong person to ask if Monster Hunter is good or not. You know? Like, I'm not into first-person shooters that much. So if you came up to me and said, hey, how do you like Battlefront or Call of Duty? I can't tell you if it's good or not because I'm not a huge fan of it. So to me, all of it is pretty much garbage. Like, not that Monster Hunter World is bad. It's just, to me, I'm not, like, enthralled with Monster Hunter, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know some people are going to get mad when you say that. They're going to be like, how dare you? Don't you like Monster Hunter? It's not terrible. I just don't care. But anyway, let's see. We have the last little bit of information to cover, which is the continued quote unquote relationship of third parties in the Switch. So basically, I've been hearing people complain that Saints Row the Third on the Switch is a shitty port.
Well, what else is new?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, and
tell me something I don't know.
Water is wet, syrup is sticky.
And the Vita's dead.
Yeah, and the Vita's dead. You know, rotten trash stinks. I mean, what else? Your dog's paws smell kind of like popcorn. Tell me what else. Tell me something else that's fucking obvious. You know, public restrooms stink.
Yeah.
Do you have any other obvious shit that's, you know, blatantly obvious to also announce? I mean, Nintendo, I haven't seen a good third-party port to a Nintendo system in years, unless it's an exclusive. Then you have a port that's better than average, but still kind of shitty, depending on the developer. Like Lego City Undercover for the Wii U is kind of a shitty. It's a shitty version of the game because basically they use the cheapest coding equipment possible to make that game. So the load times are a son of a bitch. And I know what some people are going to say, well, the Wii U's weak. There are games that are bigger than that game on the system that don't load like that. Like Lego Batman 2, which is a port of the 360 version, and it works just fine. So, I mean, you can't say, well, that's the problem, you know?
Yeah, because that means that there's something wrong with the third party's works rather than the Nintendo system.
Yeah. Which
because
no one, it's the third party's problem. It's
yeah, it's just people don't understand the reality that some of the stuff is some of the stuff is obviously hardware limitations, but some of the stuff's also just lazy coding.
It's lazy and people not wanting to put the time and energy to code it correctly. Because here's the thing, okay? The Switch, you cannot expect the Switch to be as powerful as, say, the PS4 or the Xbox One. But I mean, it's damn sure more capable than a PS3 or an Xbox 360. And I would say on technical capability, it's probably a little bit better than a Wii U. So why the fuck is it so? Why do we get games that run worse on it than they did on a last gen system, or would have on a last gen system?
It's been proven that it's much faster than an Xbox 360 through a lot of the hacking and emulation stuff that's been going on. So I don't know.
People keep on acting surprised, like I can't believe. Like someone's complaining about that shit, and first of all, like someone was like, "Well, why are you complaining about it, dude?" Look, I'm gonna unmask myself. I'm a Saints Row fan. I liked the idea of the first game. I've never owned the first game because it was an Xbox exclusive, and I refused to buy an Xbox. Like I refused to give Microsoft money for their shitty fucking console. But
let alone their games.
Just I won't do it. But Saints Row 2, I had that on the PS3. I also have it on PC. Saints Row 4, I have it on PC and the PS3. Saints Row 4, same thing. Like all the Saints Row games that are on PC, I have on PC. Modding and all the little extra shit you can add. I love Saints Row, one of my favorite franchises. I think Saints Row 3 is a better GTA than GTA. I think Saints Row 2 is a better GTA than GTA 4 is, because GTA 4 was kind of shitty. But yeah, I said it. But yeah, I mean, I think that people just don't. I think people are way too easy to just go into shit and be like, oh, well, you've been fucking up. And it's like, I mean, they're the ones who've been releasing games that are subpar. It's not me. I mean, why do they always blame gamers when other people fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, you're a fanboy. No, I mean, is it too much for someone to ask that you release a game and have it be, moderately playable? I mean, I would rather have a game have medium graphical fidelity to the game that it's based off of on a Nintendo system and play better than have it have similar graphical fidelity and play worse. Which is what we're getting. We're getting games that play worse.
Yeah.
Which is a little annoying.
But then again, kind of a standard considering what they do with Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean that's the plight of being a Nintendo gamer. Like, if you get a game, it's gonna be half-assed. just let you know, it's gonna. Like, I went someplace and some guy's like, "Hey, I want to get this game for a Nintendo for the Switch," and I was like, "If you get it for the Switch, it's gonna be mediocre. It's gonna be a bad port." It's like, how do you know? I'm like, because that's what happens to Nintendo consoles. They get shitty ports. That's just.
Because you're lazy.
At least
basically, they're lazy.
At least from the AAAs.
Generally speaking, it's just you're gonna get a shitty port for a Nintendo system. It's sad. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's just the way it is, sadly. I mean, do I want Nintendo gamers to have shitty to get shitty ports? No, but I mean, if you've been getting shitty ports, why act surprised now? Now that the Switch is popular, you thought that shit was going to change and they were going to start getting good ports? What's wrong with you?
To be honest with you, I thought at least there'd be some effort put into them. But then again, look who we're talking about.
Like I said, what the fuck's wrong with you? What? Why are you? That's like a woman marrying a man that was cheating when you were dating, been cheating, and then you get married and think, oh, well, he's gonna stop cheating now that I'm married. No, he's not. Don't
I was
act
going to say
surprised
more.
now.
I was thinking more like a restaurant that you know in a sense. Then it gets popular, and then say maybe the food's gotten better, and then find out it didn't get highly popular.
Oh man.
I mean, it didn't get better quality.
No, it's going to be bad all the time. We have a comment here. Weister20 says, I didn't see the video, but I saw a thumbnail of Medieval. I mean, the only thing that I looked forward to that actually was interesting was that they're doing a remake of Medieval. But I said earlier that if you're going to do, like, they should have done a remake of Medieval like 2 gens ago. There should have been an HD remake of Medieval during the PS2 era. Or even the PS3 era. Like, why do it now? Like, no one's going to give a shit about it now.
Well, there's probably 3 people that'll care.
Yeah, there are 3 people. Yeah, man, it's Medieval, folks. Yeah. So Dan Fortescue, he's back. Yeah, Medieval, motherfuckers. Like, I can't do it. I can't take it. I can't. But anyone have anything else they want to add? Because we pretty much covered all 3 topics.
Nah, I'm good.
I think we're good unless you want to look up some news real quick.
The news section. Well, there's always some news. There's always some bullshit someplace. I will go to Polygon.
Oh well, Pro Jared, he destroyed his YouTube career.
Yeah. Hey, look, he also destroyed his marriage because he was fucking around with his wife.
Yeah.
And I've seen his wife, and his wife isn't a bad-looking woman. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of.
Yeah.
I'm like, but here's the thing, right? It's like a goofy-looking bastard like Pro Jared is cheating on his wife. I'm like, dude, when you look like you why?
Take what you get.
Why did he downgrade? Like, he's cheating on his wife. Why did he downgrade?
I mean, look, the lady he was going with could have been attractive, but seriously, dude, you're married to a woman who is a professional cosplayer, which means you could add cosplay into your weird, freaky sex play. You literally had a woman who could be all types of shit. It's like, I think, hey, you wanna be Princess Zelda Friday night? Let's do it. Hey, you wanna be
There was some
Stannis, on the 13th? Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
There's potential, and yet he screwed it up.
But I mean that happens a lot when men cheat. It's not about looks. It's about it was available.
Personality.
And they wanted to do it.
Availability.
Yeah, it's availability. They just it's easy. They want to go for it. But yeah, Pro Jared. I mean, look, dude, look. You're never gonna see this, but damn, bro, damn.
You done fucked it up.
Yeah, you done, like Bill Duke said in Menace to Society. You know you done fucked up, right? You know you done fucked up. You done fucked up, Pro Jared.
Oh, I remember now. The rumor mill against Nintendo stirs up a bit more as another Nintendo Direct comes up, or a Nintendo digital event comes up.
Oh, you mean their E3 thing?
Yep.
Well, that's not really like a rumor. That's just because they've been doing this for years now. So,
I'm just saying that if anything, well, I say at the end of mostly every video of these, it's going to be holding true now. hype responsibly, people.
I mean, it's Nintendo. Listen. I'm gonna tell you, they're probably gonna show. Okay, here's the Nintendo Direct. Okay, they're probably gonna show some indie stuff. Indies coming to the Switch. They're probably gonna show Animal Crossing, the new Pokemon game. What else? The Fire Emblem game. And as a surprise, they might announce, yeah, we're doing like an HD'd version of the Metroid Prime trilogy. And that's it.
Yeah. So if anything, the hype machine is probably going to say that there's going to be the Nintendo Mini coming in it. Oh, God.
And Nintendo might do a Nintendo Mini, but it's not going to be what people think it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. I watch it when I feel like watching it. That's just where I'm at with all of this stuff.
After the spillage of juice on 2015, oh boy.
I mean, people acting like damn fools. Oh, Nintendo's terrible. Look, let me put it this way: Nintendo will look. Listen, this is a company that's been in business for over 100 years. All right. When you run a company that's been around for 10, then you can talk a little bit of shit. Okay? Like, I don't see Microsoft being around in 100 years. Do you?
I don't know. No, probably not.
Okay. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean it was the same continuous, philosophy, but, there is something to be said for owning a business that's been around for a long ass time. Okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At least with that, we could actually end this on a good note.
Yeah. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Since Pink's ain't here, I'll go and say it. Don't forget to visit Video Game Facts, where most of us Nintendo fans could talk about all kinds of systems, ranging from PC to Sony to Microsoft, and of course Nintendo.
Oh wait, I got something. Did anyone here watch Detective Pikachu?
My family might, but I'm not sure about it. So if anything, you might want to go for that one.
All right. Okay. Kenoshi, anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
That's Kenoshi and Abominito here to say, don't ruin. Make sure if you get nice things, make sure you keep them. Make sure you take care of them.
Okay, that's not a little ominous. Shin Megami Tensei 5. Yeah, Nintendo will probably mention that if Atlas wants to.
I don't know. Maybe Sony has their greasy little hands on that game. Maybe they're not going to let it go.
No, Shin Megami Tensei has been on Nintendo consoles for years. So consoles and handhelds, it's always been there. So,
Persona, never mind.
Yeah, Persona. Now, if Atlas were smart, they would put Persona, like either the original version or a revamp or whatever on the Switch. That'd be smart. Okay, so it's me, Mr. Red Fox. You can reach me on mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com or at Discus. Or at Twitter at Matthew Wesley at Mr. Red Fox 91. Or just in the comment section of this video once the live feed is over. You can just put comments there and I'll reach out to you. So that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe, and peace.
And hype responsibly.